Arguably, whitetail deer have senses that are far better than any other animal. The deer that live in the Midwest take paranoid to new levels. You add paranoid deer to not knowing the land, and you have all the ingredients for a great adventure.
I think this place is going to be awesome.
We got some new property in Kansas this year.
This year it's going to be me, Dan, and Hagen.
This deer ought to start moving any minute now.
From what little we've been able to gather so far, we've got a lot of deer betting on us.
He's been flirting with it pretty good. This buck might be a tough one to get.
There are 3 roads that lead to the same destination. There are 3 players seeking to achieve one goal. Why do I hunt? It's who I am.
Where do I find the passion? It's in my blood.
How do I keep going? It's what I live for.
We are the wildlifers. We got some new property in Kansas this year. I've sent Dustin up there. He scoped it out. He's okayed it. Supposed to be plenty deer there, a lot of grasslands, a lot of bottomlands. It looks good. I think we'll have success here.
Can't see a lot of it off the county roads, and that's what I really like about this place, because our other place, you could see a lot of it, and we dealt with poaching. So the new place, we're southeast Kansas. There's a lot of crop fields around us.
From what little we've been able to gather so far, we've got a lot of deer betting on us and traveling to eat on the places around us. We've got a lot of grass country and some real deep draws.
But we've got a lot of cover too. And then we've also got a big river bottom, and down in that river bottom is where these big deer are gonna travel. They feel safe down there, right across the rivers. I'm very hopeful that this place is gonna be better than our last, just because of the food sources that are available to these deer.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna miss the Whitetail Kansas hunt this year, but I'm gonna get to go to Colorado with Lacey, Dustin's wife, and we're gonna hunt mule deer.
This year it's gonna be me, Dan, and Hagen. So me and Hagen, we're gonna go up there early, and we're gonna start hunting before Dan can get up there. We're gonna get the jump on him.
If there are deer there, those 2 guys are gonna get them.
Me and Hagen, I hope we get a big one down before he gets there. We're still a little bit early. We're right in this pre-rut where the deer are not really moving in the mornings.
We didn't expect to have a lot of activity in the mornings just because it was still pre-rut.
Our cameras are telling us they're moving in the evenings. So we're gonna get in these trees and we're gonna put some time in to get one.
Man, this is the spot that when I look at Onyx maps and I look at the terrain and all the bedding that they got, this is a great spot. I'm really excited to sit here. The rut's fixing to happen any day now. It could kick off, so gotta get in a tree. That's what we're doing.
So checking these cameras, the 8-point that we had really been looking for, the big 8 with the drop tine, he had been pretty patternable, pretty consistent, if you would, for what those Midwest whitetail can be. We also had that big non-typical deer. Dustin and I had seen that deer earlier, a beautiful animal. I certainly wouldn't pass that deer, and I'd be more than happy with either one of them.
We had our deer near about midnight last night, so this cold front, we're hoping to get him moving a little early. We got a good northwest wind, pretty good setup. We're hoping he'll feed out across this field and come on into us right about dark, so hang tight. Let's see what we can get done this evening.
I think these deer are gonna be on their feet tonight, and I'm just really excited to see what this first hunt in Kansas is gonna hold for me. So as I'm just scanning this field impatiently, waiting to see the first deer move as it starts getting into prime time, I look up this lane and I see a big mature buck standing there. As soon as he looks out to the right, I can see that drop tine. This is him. This may be it. It may happen here pretty soon.
Wildlifers is brought to you by Melon Creek Outfitters, raising standards, not fences. Barnes Precision Machine, USA made with unmatched performance. Wise Eye Smart Feeders, feed the guest, zap the pest, shut out the rest. We are the Wildlifers. There's always something about the unknown that attracts us. New land, pre-rut, and Kansas create more unknown than you can imagine.
So as I'm just scanning this field impatiently, waiting to see the first deer move, I look up this lane and I see a big mature buck standing there. As soon as he looks out to the right, I can see that drop tine. This is him. All of a sudden, I look out in the field a little bit farther and there's some coyotes walking out across it, and that deer turns his attention to those coyotes. Sure enough, he turns around. With the sunlight fading, I may have just lost my opportunity, but I sure hope I didn't.
Doe and a buck.
You know, it's my first afternoon in the stand. I'm not exactly sure where the deer come from, where they go. I have ideas that I've looked at onX maps and I've figured out the terrain across the fence that's not on us.
And all these deer that we're seeing are coming and going to there. They're coming out of there and then they're going back.
You're always optimistic because you never know what's going to come out and you never know where they're going to come from. You know, this 10 point that comes in, he's got a great start. I mean, he's got some good genetics, and you can tell that in a few years, he's gonna be a big buck. And it's my job as a hunter to give him those few years. I mean, that's what it's about, is a little bit of management goes a long way, especially with these Kansas deer, because you get some age on them, and they all get big. You know, now it's starting to get a little later in the day, and that's when the big deer start moving, and I look up and there is a big 8 point. And now what do I do? This is not a target buck that I'm here for, but he looks really nice and he's heading right in. He's got tine length, he's got mass, he's got beams. I mean, he is a beautiful 8 point buck. The only problem is it's the first day and I know that there's bigger bucks in the area. And man, I may be kicking myself in the butt later in the hunt, but I tell you what, this buck is not what I'm sitting in the tree for, and I'm gonna let him go.
That's an awesome 5-6-year-old 8 point. That's bigger than any 8 point I've ever killed, but if I kill that one, I ain't gonna kill a giant. I got 10 days to hunt. I may regret it, but that's a beautiful buck.
So I know I'm running out of time, and my only other option is to try and grunt or rattle. Maybe I can get this deer's attention and pull him back out into this field and just see if he'll commit and come on now that these coyotes have passed on through. Rattled pretty aggressively for just a second. As I set my horns down and look back to my right, I just see this massive body and huge antlers on his head. I know this is a mature buck, and this is very likely my shooter.
Right.
Did you see that, baby? I
did not expect that deer to come from that way. Man, what a freaking adrenaline rush that was. Went 60 yards and just crashed. It's my first Kansas whitetail, first year to hunt Kansas. What more could you ask for?
I just couldn't believe I had the opportunity to take a shot at my very first Kansas whitetail.
I can see his horns.
As we walked up to that deer, he just kept growing and growing and growing and growing.
Look at this, man. I just can't believe how big these deer's bodies are, you know. I'm so used to hunting deer at home and in Texas. And
He had a lot of points. He had a lot of extra points and kickers, and he had really big beams. He had great mass. I mean, he's a beautiful deer. Awesome, man.
Thank you.
Look at that deer.
Character, man. I mean, just like, look at all this stuff here. He's got 4 extras. Couldn't believe I'd harvested a deer that big, bigger than any deer I've ever killed in my life, and to be able to harvest a mature Kansas whitetail was just a dream come true for me. I'll hunt Kansas for a long time now, but it may be a long time before I shoot another one.
You know, tomorrow's a fresh day, and I've got a couple of bucks on my hit list I'm going after.
This segment is brought to you by Barnes Precision Machine, USA made with unmatched performance. We've all played that same scenario over and over in our minds. Heavy white antlers appear through the hardwoods. He presents a perfect shot in our minds, but he always leaves us wondering, where did he come from?
Through the night, a cold front blew in and it got cold. So I'm hoping that this cold front will maybe get this rut started. So I'm gonna go get in a stand this morning.
Another deer coming out from the left.
So this cold front, it kicks off that rut to where these mature bucks will get up off their feet in daylight hours to go searching for does.
I don't see the bigger buck right now. I don't know where that buck went.
As I sit there for a while, time has passed and I'm not seeing any movement at all. So I think I'm gonna get down, I'm gonna go warm up and go get something to eat and get in here early and spend all afternoon in the stand, because last night they were moving, so I bet they're gonna be moving tonight. You know, I get back in the stand and I have a pretty good idea of where this deer lives.
I think they're bedded right up there. Maybe if I rattle, maybe that big buck will get up and start working this way a little earlier tonight.
It's not very long after I get done rattling and I just put my horns back up and I'm looking in the direction I think that the big deer lives, and right underneath me I hear footsteps. I catch out of the corner of my eye that there's a deer right there. And how he got there, I don't know. This is another buck that's on my hit list, and now my heart's starting to pound, because now I know I've got a shooter in range. I'm not passing this one up. It's time to get ready. He's eating some corn, he calms down, he finally turns broadside. I draw my bow back, and as I draw back, he picks his head up, and internally I'm thinking, oh man, I hope he didn't just see me. And now I've got a great shot. I settle my pin. You know, this deer, after I shot him, he just slowly walked off and bedded down. And, you know, looking through my binoculars, I can tell that he's expiring.
We've got a Kansas buck and he is going down. He's down right there. This is the big 10 that's in here.
So I start talking to my cameraman and talking about the shot and how cool it was, and I look back up, and it's the #1 buck on my hit list. This deer, he commences to whooping my deer's butt.
He's gonna push you in the creek.
I've never seen a deer that was so mad at another deer.
He is standing over the top of him right now.
He flipped him over multiple times.
I can't imagine what was going through Dustin's head.
I mean, just got him down on the ground.
Leave him alone. There he goes. You can't get a day like this in the city. This is why we get in a tree and freeze to death.
And it was something that I've never experienced, and I'll never forget that moment in the woods.
Here he comes. He's coming now.
And he walks right in front of Dustin as if he was taunting him, like he knew that he was the one Dustin had been after originally.
It's the one we've been trying to kill.
I'll be able to remember that hunt for the rest of my life, because I don't know that I'll ever get to see something that cool.
Very good blood trail this one. You can see where he knocked hair off of him. That is a fighting mad Kansas whitetail to push a deer all the way into the river. I've never had one die in the river, but look at this buck. Oh, man. He's a really good one too. Big old Kansas 10-pointer. That's what we're come here for, is a big old Kansas buck. I don't guess this one died in the water. The buck pushed him in the water, but at least now I have a story with a buck that's dead in the water.
Well, Dustin named the buck he was after Rambo.
He's now #1 on the hit list.
You know, Dan, he's coming in tonight, so in the morning I'm gonna put him in the stand and send him after Rambo.
Well, Rambo, it looks like I've got a date with you. What is the largest Boone and Crockett whitetail harvested in Kansas? A, 365 3/8, B, 305 7/8, C, 242 3/4, D, 223 3/8. The Kansas State whitetail remarkably tops out at over 300 inches. He settled the tape at 305 7/8 inches. This segment is brought to you by Wise Eye Smart Feeders. Feed the guest, zap the pest, shut out the rest. Nature can be a violent place. When instinct to reproduce becomes fixated in these bucks' minds, there are no rules. Well, it's my first morning here in Kansas in the tree. It is really, really cold, but man, we're seeing deer everywhere, so hopes are high.
We got in here a couple hours ago. The wind's really bad this morning. We had to back out. It's a little better this afternoon. Maybe he'll come by down here in this bottom and I'll get a shot at him. It looks pretty good. There's been a lot of movement this afternoon.
We got a doe and a young buck kind of hanging out there in front of us, and I'm just watching them. And I kind of look down the draw to my right, and I can see something moving through there. And I about fell out of the tree stand when I realized that it was the buck I'm after, and he's coming straight for my shooting lane.
That's him, bud. Get ready. Here we go.
So Dan's in the same stand that I shot my buck out of, and here comes Rambo. Rambo is coming on a string right to where he needs to be.
And he steps out, and I level my pin right where I want. I make absolutely certain that my anchor point is right where it always is. I squeeze the trigger, expecting the thud, and I shot about a foot over him.
I don't know what to say.
Of course, it makes me mad to miss. I don't like to miss. I'm not accustomed to missing, but I'm definitely not absent of it.
You know, hey, it happens to all of us. Just goes to show you that that's why it's hunting, not killing.
Rambo lives to see another day.
You know, I tell you, this Rambo, he's been flirting with it pretty good. This buck might be a tough one to get.
It'll be exciting. Looking forward to hearing the rest of the stories of Rambo and hopefully trying to connect with him this coming year.
You know, all in all, we picked up some new property in Kansas. You know, learned a lot about the property this year, so I think it's got potential to really grow some big ones, and I'm excited to be back next year.
Looking back on my trip to Kansas this year, it was everything I could have imagined it would have been and even more.
I think it was a great trip to Kansas. I think our lease is a success. I'm excited to go back and hunt it again. I'm glad that they got their deer. Maybe next year I can shoot a little straighter. Closed captioning by Vault Aviation, a different kind of whitetail.